Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Macabre, and welcome back to my movie library. I thought today we would do another original versus the remake video. Especially today is February 7th, which means in exactly 1 week it'll be February 14th, Valentine's Day. So, of course, we got to talk about My Bloody Valentine and its 2009 remake, My Bloody Valentine 3D. Yeah, came out. This one came out in 1981, a year after Friday the 13th. Obviously, this was meant to kind of cash in on that. Like you had two successful, very successful horror slasher movies. Based around holidays. You had Halloween, then you had Friday the 13th. So why not do a Valentine's one? And this is what we got. Overall, I do like the movie. It's not my favorite slasher movie. There are elements to it that I do like. The story is about this small town of Valentine's Bluff in Nova Scotia, where it's a small mining town, and they're having, of course, you got to have a bit of a backstory, but they're getting ready to have their first Valentine's Day dance that they've had in about 20 years, because 20 years prior, there was an accident in the town because Valentine's Bluff is a mining town. So they're having their Valentine's Day dance, and two of the supervisors decide that they're going to go ahead and knock off early. They abandon their post. They're not taking care of their responsibilities. And a methane gas leak breaks out, and the mine blows up, trapping miners inside. And when they when they dig through and they find what the only survivor, which is Harry Warden, it turns out that Harry Warden had pretty much gone feral to survive, and was basically turned to cannibalism. So they bring him out, and then a year later, Harry takes revenge on the two, on the two supervisors, and he makes a declaration to the town that never to have another Valentine's Day dance. Well, 20 years later, they figure things should be okay and things should be safe enough that, all this has blown over long enough, they could go ahead and have a Valentine's Day dance. And, it turns out that Harry Warden had been captured and was supposed to have been in an insane asylum all this time. So they figured, it would be safe. He wouldn't get out. However, some mysterious murders are happening in the town. And we're trying to figure out, who is it? Is it Harry Warden? Is it someone else? Okay, you know what? Go ahead and get into spoiler alert. Okay, I'm giving you some time, all right? So in case if, you haven't seen this movie and, you want to go watch it. Okay, spoiler alert. Now, in the story, a big part of the story is revolved around our three main characters, who are TJ, Sarah, and Axel. And it turns out that at one point, TJ decided that, living Valentine's Bluff wasn't for him. Working in the mine wasn't for him. The mine is owned and operated by his father. So he didn't want to be under daddy's thumb anymore. So he decides to get out and, basically go off and try to be somebody. Well, it doesn't work out. It turns out that while TJ was living there, he was dating the girl Sarah. And then when he left, he just up and took off. And this ends up being a big problem with me with the main characters. I'll get to that in a minute. But TJ up and takes off, and basically nobody knew where he was. Nobody knew what had happened to him. He had just gone. And so some time had passed, and then Sarah starts dating Axel, and the two of them are together. So when TJ comes back, he's basically decided he wants to get Sarah back. And never mind that Sarah is dating Axel. And so now you have this love triangle between Sarah, Axel, and TJ. And so we're getting towards the end of the movie. They have their Valentine's Day party. And they decide to take some of the girls down in the mine. So it turns out the killer starts picking them all off one by one. So TJ and Axel decide to band together because they both want to save Sarah. So they go down there, and it is revealed that Axel is actually the killer. Okay, but this could have, if they did something a little bit different, it could have worked better. We'll get to that in a minute. But it turns out that Axel is the killer. He's still left alive, and then we're left with an ending that promises a sequel that never ends up happening. I do like the movie. Some of the kills are very inventive. The practical effects are really good. I do prefer getting this on 4K. This is the best version of the movie because they restored for years. Watching this movie, they did have something of an unrated cut, but the problem was the unrated footage was never restored. So when you were watching the movie, it's like the unrated footage would stick out like a sore thumb. It looked very out of place. Whereas here, I would definitely recommend getting this version of it because the transfer on it is amazing. They restored the whole thing. It looks great. The unrated footage looks organic. It looks like it all fits together. It's very well done. So if you're going to watch this, I would say get the 4K. This is actually the best version of the movie to watch because it flows perfectly. It all looks like it should and everything else. So you have a great film here. I would say the biggest problem that I have with this movie is, and it is a problem I do tend to have with the remake as well, I'm not a big fan of the love triangle aspect of this here because the TJ character, in my opinion, he's annoying. He comes off as entitled. He's kind of a jerk, He comes back. He's like, he ups and takes off on his girlfriend and his family and everybody and just takes off, doesn't say anything, just takes off, to hell with you guys. I'm too good for this town. I'm better than everybody else. So he goes and he leaves. Then when he comes back, it's like he expects everybody to kiss his ass and everybody like bow. That's kind of the way he comes off. At least to me, that's the way the character comes off. He kind of comes off like everybody needs to bow down to me and, oh, I decide I want Sarah back, so Sarah should just drop everything she's doing and come back to me again and all this kind of stuff. So the TJ character does really get on my nerves. The Sarah character, she really gets on my nerves as well. Especially because it's like, it's so annoying that it's like, yeah, you understand that she loved TJ and everything, that they had a good relationship and stuff. But the fact that, here's a guy who just up and took off on her, didn't give a shit about her, just left her high and dry, left her hanging out and all this stuff, just ran off to leave her and everything else. And then when he comes back, and then he at first she's kind of like, hey, TJ, it's tough luck. You left and all this stuff. You're just going to have to accept the way things are now and all this kind of stuff. But she doesn't really stick to her guns and she caves pretty instantly. And then she decides to allow herself to get, to let herself get confused between whether she wants to be with Axel or whether she wants to be with TJ. And it's just like, you do kind of get irritated by her. It's like, it's like, well, they were in love and all this kind of stuff. It's like, but if I had a wife or a girlfriend, if she just up and took off on me and I didn't know where she was, not a kiss my ass, a goodbye, nothing, if just took off on me and left me like I was nothing. And then, she comes back and then she's like, oh, I just want to pick up where we left off. I'd be like, fuck off. I don't want you, get the hell out of my life. I moved on, and all this stuff. You didn't give a damn enough about me to let me know that you were going to go and all this, and you were going to leave me behind and all this kind of stuff. You didn't give a damn about me. So why the hell am I supposed to care about you? So fuck off, Like that would be it, So that is kind of the big irritating thing about the movie to me about this. And then the character of Axel, in a way, you're kind of rooting for him, but at the same time, you're not really because, ultimately he ends up being the killer just because they think the audience will side more with the relationship between Sarah and TJ, and it's kind of like, it just doesn't work for me. I kind of would have liked to have seen, I don't know, maybe you seen like, Sarah kind of realized like Axel was a good guy, but, and then TJ really was the prick and all this kind of stuff. And maybe give like TJ a more, redeemable quality in that, like Harry Warden is getting ready to kill Sarah. And so he sacrifices himself to save her, and stuff like that. Something like that would have been better, I think. but just it's just that's the only problem that I really have with the movie is just the whole love triangle aspect of it. And but other than that, it's a it is a very well made film. Like I said, the practical effects are amazing. It's beautifully shot. It's well put together. Great effective score by Paul Zaza. Is it Paul Zaza? Uh, yeah, Paul Zaza does the great score in here. Who's done scores for a number of Bob Clark's movies, and just a great little Canadian horror flick. And I really do. I really like this movie. I really think it's amazing. And I mean, like I said, it's not my favorite slasher movie, but it's I could put it on right now and watch it, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. I could watch it anytime. And but anyway, so yeah, like I said, that's probably about the only thing. Now we're gonna get to the remake from 2009, My Bloody Valentine 3D, and I don't know. I kind of that's the thing between the original and the remake. I kind of tend to go back and forth over which one I prefer. There are elements that I really enjoy much more in the original, but there are elements that I really enjoy in the remake a little bit more. I think that I kind of find the relationship between Axel, the love triangle, is a little bit more interesting, I guess. But the kills are interesting. Could do with a lot. I mean, I understand because of the 3D gimmick, and 2009 3D movies were a pretty big gimmick at the time. So a lot of the kills had to be done with CGI and stuff like that. So that is one thing that definitely ruins the movie. It really could have used some more practical effects and done a lot better. But I do tend to I like the character of Sarah in the remake more. Jamie King, I think she's a great actress. I think she's awesome. Not only is she breathtakingly gorgeous, she's a great actress. She was great in this. She was great in the Silent Night remake. She was great in the Mother's Day remake. I really do like Sin City. I really like Jamie King as an actress. I think she's awesome. And I thought she was really good in this. I thought her acting was really, really fantastic. Kerr Smith as Axel, he's a guy, I actually don't mind this guy. I actually don't mind. I've seen him in this, Final Destination, The Forsaken. I actually like this guy as an actor, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of him. I don't know what he's been doing. I really haven't looked him up, but I don't know what he's been doing. But I do like him as an actor, and I liked that in this version, he clearly is very much in love with Sarah, despite the fact that he is cheating on her with Megan. Now granted, okay, Megan, I think that's one of the things I really like in this movie is that Megan is easily could have been a very throwaway character, nothing to her. She's just there, okay, she's just there to get killed. She's just there to take away from all the drama and everything else going on with Axel and Sarah. But the one thing I thought was actually a really nice touch was the fact that you get to that scene in the grocery store, which is a great scene, where Megan and Sarah are in the grocery store. They're locking up, getting ready to leave. And Megan kind of drops hints that, she's talking to Sarah about, so Tom was your first, in this one, instead TJ, his name is Tom. So, she's like, so, Tom, was your first love? And she's like, yeah, but she's like, but Axel was the one who was there for me. And she's like, well, he's not anymore. And, so she's basically dropping hints that, her and Axel are having an affair. But the one thing I thought that was really kind of cool, that was a nice little tidbit for the Megan character, was that, the part where they're being chased through the store by the Harry Warren character, and Sarah trips and falls, and then Megan shows up and, fights back and tries to protect Sarah. So I mean, I thought that was kind of a nice, good, redeemable quality to her. That even though it's like, yeah, I may be sleeping with your husband, but that doesn't mean I want you to die, and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of a nice, tiny little bit of redeemable quality for the Megan character. But the thing is like when you watch the movie, you can clearly tell that I'm not trying to excuse Axel having an affair on Sarah or anything like that, but it's like you get the sense that Axel is. It's a case of Axel is much more in love with Sarah than Sarah is in love with him. And you think that the only reason why he would even, it's clear that he loves her. And it's clear that he very much wants to be with her. But you get the sense that the reason why he would probably go and sleep with Megan, and even though he's married to Sarah, is that you get the sense that Megan probably makes him feel a little bit more wanted, makes him feel a little bit more like he matters, whereas he probably doesn't feel that way with Sarah. I'm not saying that Sarah doesn't love him or doesn't appreciate him. I'm just saying that, probably in his mind, he thinks that, I go with Megan because Megan makes me feel good about myself. She makes me feel wanted. She makes me feel desirable, where in my mind, I don't feel that way with Sarah. But, so I think it's a little bit more interesting, a little bit more depth to the characters. Tom, who is played by Jensen Ackles, who I thought it's kind of funny that, the Winchester brothers from Supernatural are both doing remakes at this time. So at the time, Jensen Ackles was doing this, you had Jared Padalecki doing the Friday the 13th remake. So I just thought it was kind of funny that they both, I think that the thing is, I like the Tom character a little bit more because to me, it's just the way he's written is a little bit more interesting. He's not just this obnoxious douche who just goes off and, screw everybody in the town. I'm going to go off and try to be Mr. Big Shot and all that stuff and then come crawling back. It's like, it makes a little bit more sense because at the beginning of the movie, you had that great scene in the mine with the kills and all that kind of stuff. You got a great, spectacle at the beginning of the film. And then he's very traumatized by it. So he goes away and then he needs to be, rehabilitated over a while. And then, he comes back and then weirdly enough, the murders start happening. Spoiler alert. This time, instead of Axel, it's Tom who ends up being the killer. So I thought that was kind of an intriguing idea that, I thought that was kind of a nice little change for the audience and that, the one guy who is the killer, you think is going to be the killer in the remake because he was the killer in the original. They kind of switched that. It's like, no, the guy who wasn't the killer in the original is now the killer in this movie. I thought that was a kind of a cool idea. This movie has some great kills, some fun, action set pieces, some great blood and gore, even if a lot of it is, CGI. Like I said, that's a big thing that's holding this movie back. It really could have benefited more from more practical effects, but you get why because of the 3D gimmick. Tom Atkins is in this movie, and even though his character is kind of a chicken shit, it's like you love to see Tom Atkins in a movie. Anytime Tom Atkins is in a movie, it just feels like it's 10 times better. This movie, I will say kind of the big difference between this movie and the original, it's almost like the difference between like Halloween and Friday the 13th, where Halloween was a much more classy, kind of well-made movie, whereas Friday the 13th is a little bit more kind of, a little bit sleazier, a little bit more exploitation. That's definitely the feeling you get with this movie. Now, while this movie does have some bloody, gory kills, the movie is not particularly, it's well-crafted, it's, a well-made film. They tried to make, despite the fact that it's a slasher movie, they still try to make a classy, well-made horror film, where the remake definitely goes for more of an exploitation sleaze element to it. There's more there where the original movie has no nudity. This movie has full frontal nudity and stuff like that. You have some great kills, some fun action set pieces. You do have some fun with the 3D gimmick and stuff like that. This movie, but overall, I really do like the remake because it very much pays tribute and honors the original film. It does have some callbacks, moments to the original film, but kind of does it a little bit of a different way. But overall, I don't hate the remake. And like in some cases, I actually kind of prefer it to the original. I know that sounds blasphemous, but that's the thing. It's one of those cases I can enjoy both movies on their own merits. I think that, Patrick Lussier and the writer Todd Farmer did a fun job. They made a fun, just entertaining movie, and definitely pays homage to the 80s slasher movies. And like I said, adds a little bit more gore and sleaze to it. But the original movie is still very well crafted, well made. And in my opinion, you don't lose. Either one, you don't lose. So This is one of the few times I'm actually happy that you have a good remake to go with a good original, and so yeah, so I think you can enjoy both of them. I think you can, I think in a way you could kind of like almost do as a double feature, do the original first and then do the remake second. But I think I've said just about all there is I need to say, But like I said, just yeah, both of these movies are a great time, and I would say that the original, the first movie kind of kicks into gear pretty fast. It's a little bit more Fast and Furious, where the original takes its time and builds, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little bit, a tiny bit more of a slow burn, but it kind of takes its time getting going. But once it's going, man, it's on fire. It's a great movie. So just, yeah, I really enjoyed both of these movies. So that's actually something I can be happy to say. It's nice. That's it. The final verdict, pretty much. It's nice when you have an original and a remake and you can enjoy them both equally. One doesn't step on the toes of the other, and you can just enjoy both movies and have a good time with them. And and still, it's pretty clear that the people who made the remake, respect the original and, didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They tried to make a movie that did try to honor it, but kind of go off and do its own thing a little bit. It's nice that they took some changes, like, for instance, like I said, you have in the original, Axel is the killer, but in the remake, it ends up that Tom is the killer. So it's kind of nice when a remake starts going down that same road and you think where it's going to go, but it swerves a little bit. It's always fun when a remake does that and kind of pleasantly surprises you. So that's it. So, yeah, so this, next Friday, the 14th, yeah, have you a double feature of My Believe Valentine's movies. So, so that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I also hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to my channel. That's it, everybody. Take care, boils and ghouls. See you all later.